Good day, dear students. How are you? I hope that you have learned something from the philosophical perspective of the self presented under lesson 1. Now let's proceed to the next lesson, tackling the sociological perspective of the self. So, at the end of our learning session, you are expected to discover something about yourself through our Johari window, differentiate the concept of I and me, describe your social self by analyzing a poem, determine the effects of modernity to self-identification, and identify your characteristics, values, traits, and attitudes in different societies. So what is sociology? If philosophy is the love for wisdom, then what is this sociology? Okay, this is the study of the society, a social science involving the study of the social lives of people, groups, and societies. Okay, so when we say society, there are different levels, the macro and micro systems in our society, like the family, the barangay, the church, the school, the whole ifsu, the whole kiangan, the whole ifugao. That is an example of society. So, sociology is a scientific study of the social aggregations, the groups, the entities through which humans move throughout their lives. It is also an overarching unification of all studies of humankind, including history, psychology, and economics. So, sociology is a combination of these three, if we can consider. So, in your workbook, there is an activity 3 entitled Johari Window. Okay, there are 4 quadrants or 4 boxes wherein you should answer. The first quadrant tackles your open self, area, or arena. You should write therein the information about yourself, your attitudes, behavior, emotions, feelings, skills, and views known by you as well as by others. For example, for me, I am known as an instructor, therefore I am good in speaking. So I know it. I did not instantly know it, but then I discovered this skill as I went through life. Did you know that I was shy? Okay, from elementary to college, but then through psychology practicum, I was able to come out of my shell. So let's proceed to the quadrant 2, the blind self or blind spot. It says here, ask one of your classmates, one who is closest to you, or someone who is there beside you, readily available, just like your friend, your mother, your father, to write what he or she thinks and knows about you. For example, for me now, I have readily available colleague who can say what he knows about me, but then I do not know yet. Next is the third quadrant, or the hidden area or facade. Write therein the information that is known to you but will be kept unknown from others, or this is what we call the secret box. Okay, known to me but not known by others. I think I will ponder on that because I have a lot. So let's proceed to the unknown area or the quadrant 4. Write one thing that you would like to discover about yourself. For me, I would like to discover if I can sing. I can sing, yes. Yes, I can sing, but then if I could serve as a praise and worship song leader in a live church gathering. Okay? Because for now, I have rendered solo or duet songs, but then I'd like to still explore if I can lead as a praise and worship leader. Next. Okay, after accomplishing your Johari window, let's proceed to the idea of Mead and the social self. According to George Herbert Mead, an American sociologist, he contributed the theory of social self. He said that people develop self-images through interactions with other people. Are you amenable to this? In here, we could see that the effect of the perception of other people towards us is very important. According to him, the self, which is part of a person's personality consisting of self-awareness and self-image, is a product of social experience. I could cite an example of this. Okay, is I have shared a while ago that I was once very shy. Yes, very shy and very introvert. But then when I tried to be a leader because I was selected during our practicum in psychology, the feedback of my group members just like, yes, you are a good leader, you can talk, you can speak well, and then like contributed to my self image right now. And it somehow boosted my self esteem and my self worth, and therefore I am now aware and I am now practicing that yes, I am an instructor and I can speak to impart my knowledge. And according to him, there are three activities through which the self is developed. First is language, second is play, and third is game. So let's dissect this. Language, according to Mead, develops self by allowing individuals to respond to each other through symbols, gestures, words, and sounds. For example, an infant who can just babble 2 to 3 syllables but then cannot form and cannot accurately pronounce words. But then through interaction with others, he continuously and gradually develops his talking. Okay, so from babble, from 3 syllables to formed words like mama, papa, sometimes toan, sometimes yung sasabihin niyang I will drink numak, uminumak kayam dechay. Okay. So next is play. Play develops self by allowing individuals to take on the roles of other people and pretend to be those other people in order to express the expectations of significant others. So did you know that career guidance starts from daycare? Okay, wherein the daycare are required to wear certain attires of specific professions. Okay, on their career guidance, that is one of the actual examples of play. Okay, and there are also unstructured play that we do, wherein the children could explore what they really want, what they appreciate, and it is there where they could start their interaction with others. It is there that they could start realizing that I am a separate person from others, that I am unique from others, but then we could enjoy, okay, together. Play is the process of role playing, and it is the key to the generation of self-consciousness and to the general development of the self, as I've said a while ago. And third, game. Develop self by allowing individuals to understand and adhere to the rules of the activity. Okay, the game is very important, most especially that it is for the enjoyment of the children, for people. But then it also develops the sense of competition within and among the children. Why? Because of the rules. If the rules are not followed, then there will be no sense that you are attending the game. So every game has a rule to be followed in order to win. So the sense of competition of children is being developed. And of course, it also develops the sense of cooperation among them, because in a team, if one member cannot cooperate, then they could not compete with the other teams. So intra and intergroup development. According to him as well, the concept of the I and the me is different. So the self is composed of I and me pertains to the viewpoints, attitudes, and expectations of the society as a whole. Okay, let us understand here. The me is the social self, while the I is the response to the me. An example for myself, of course, I am formally launched as the new instructor in the psychology department. So that is me, the social self, because it is known by the society. And I was here because I was hired. Okay? not by one but a group of people, the personal selection board of the IFSU. So what would the I in me do? Okay, as a response to that social self, okay, I now do constant updating in our FB group. I now do recording of our lessons in response to the glitches that we have in an online class, or I still attempt to have online class and thrive through the challenges of the internet. Okay, and I still do print hard copy and so and send e-copies to students because I want to respond excellently to the social self that the IFSO community ascribed to me. Okay, that's an actual example. So how Mead matters today, what others think of us, the perspective of others we gain from being a part of the conversation or gestures are absolutely necessary for us to even have a sense of self. Okay, so whatever the community ascribes to us, especially on our current role, we could choose. We have the choice to respond excellently or just ignore it. Okay, remember that we, in every moment and in every role that the society wants us to do, especially if it contributes to our self development, we should seize the opportunity to grow as well and respond excellently, as I've said a while ago. Yes, we have the choice. And we learn from the philosophical perspectives that we are rational beings, okay? We are not separate from our thinking, and therefore our actions are also the effects of what we think about ourselves. So think positively. How Mead matters today, we think of ourselves as individuals to be sure, but we are only able to do so by virtue of being a part of a larger community. So let us imagine that there are a lot of women and men who respond accurately to their roles. They deliver what are expected of them excellently. Then, if those women would multiply, would duplicate, and the society has that kind of productive citizen, then we have then we have a progressive nation. Okay, so you do the activity 4 under your workbook. The activity 4 should be done by reading The Mirror, a poem by Sir Donato Abaya, our chairperson in psychology. So you answer the 4 questions there after reading The Mirror. Okay? So for the purpose of those who have not yet read this, I will read this, okay? Looking at the mirror and I can see many versions of me, wondering who are those staring at me. For answering the question, who am I, has never been easy. Confusing thoughts and feelings run deep within me. How can I unmask the faces I see when others' eyes scrutinize my whole being? Will there be a chance to find the true me? If I couldn't discern what is real from real. I've been in this journey for quite some time, and I still can't figure who am I. So I have to take the rest for a while and face the mirror one more time. Okay, the mirror connotes the reflection that we have, the self-examination that we have, and of course, the self-realization that we have vis-a-vis the comments, opinions of the society to us. Okay, let's proceed to the modernity and its effect on self-identification. We have a concept of individualization wherein individualism is a moral, political, and social outlook that stresses human independence and the importance of individual self-reliance and liberty. So from the word itself, individual, it pertains to the importance of independence, self-reliance, and liberty. And of course, we have multiple choice. In the modern society, individuals have more diverse roles than before and are caught up in a variety of different encounters and milieu which each call for different forms of appropriate behavior. We always say the adage that act accordingly, okay? You should act through You should act according to the proper place, proper time, and proper occasion. That's why the different roles that the diverse society tells us that for example, from 8 to 5, I am an instructor, and by 5 onwards, I should be considered as a wife, as a daughter, and as a friend, like that. But then sometimes these roles overlap, okay, especially now, this pandemic, and it calls for proper behavior. For example, I have influx of messages in my messenger even if it is beyond 8 p.m. Okay, sometimes I respond, sometimes not if I am busy, but I am pitiful to those students who are texting and sending messages on those times. That's why I still reply. But then I'd like to be firm sana na wala nang ganon kasi meron din akong ibang role. Okay? So, it calls for appropriate behavior on both ends, to the students and to the teacher. Okay? The risks. Modernity is full of uncertainty which individuals cannot ignore, no matter how hard they try. And the modern society exposes everyone to a diversity of crisis situations. For example, during this pandemic, okay, it has been a year since we started dwelling in our houses, within our small community, within our municipality, because of the threat that COVID can give to us. Okay? The crisis situation we are in is also a result of the modernity that we have. Okay, and the response of the modern world to this crisis situation are the several versions of COVID-19 vaccine that comes in the market from Russia, from China, from other countries. Okay, so the vaccination itself is a result of modernity, okay, to address one of the risks that modernity has also given this world. Globalization and the mediated experience. It diseases or dies isolation by giving people the chance to follow events that are happening around the world, but it also increases isolation by removing people from traditionally shaped framework of conversation, experience, and life. A good example of this is our face-to-face class. Okay, our communal practices wherein we celebrate the whole community, the whole society celebrates with us through various occasions, across various occasions, like here in Ifugao, if we contextualize it, we have Honga, we have Bogwa, we have engagements, we have lots of occasions wherein the community should celebrate and go, okay, personally. But then, due to the pandemic, there has been a limited exposure to these events, and this has been limited to the immediate family, immediate relatives who are near each other. Okay, so itong nangyayari sa atin ngayon ay from traditional to modern way of life na. And our face-to-face classes has been substituted by synchronous or actual or real-time classes through online digital platform, or the asynchronous, an example of which is what I am doing, that I am recording lessons for you, okay, to be able to retrieve either offline or online. So these are the effects of what we already have now. Thanks to the digital media, because we are able to address this. Another concept is the social control. In modern times, social control is mostly exercised through the appeal to reason. Appeal to feelings is not greatly resorted to in the modern world. Okay, for now, We are in a modern world. We are experiencing pandemic. Okay? Sometimes the International Agency Task Force for COVID, IATF, or the Interagency Task Force for COVID, IATF, release standards or health protocols which are according to appeal to reason or rationality. But then sometimes they should also consider appeal to feelings. That they could only do this through bottom up decision making. But then they are gathering there at the top and then doing sets of doing sets of rules and guidelines which they could cascade to small communities or to the bottom lines. The process should be bottom up. They should have consultation with LGUs before coming up with national decisions, okay, so that the appeal to feelings would also be considered. Choosing a lifestyle. Lifestyles are routine costumes for meeting others. Nowadays, these routines that the individual follow are reflexively open to change because of the mobile nature of self-identity. Tama. Okay. The digital world, modern world, tells us that for now, this is your self-identity, but because of the pandemic, you could have another identity. An example of which is Ivana Alawi. Okay? Noon, si Ivana Alawi, pwede siyang mag-appear sa any other television shows. Okay? Dahil hindi pa pandemic noon. Okay? At safe na safe pa. And rising star siya when she appeared in Provinciano. Okay? But then, due to the pandemic, nung in-start niya ang pag-YouTube, malaki ang kinikita niya at nagkakaroon siya ng maraming subscribers. So, she chose to stay with YouTube and just do upload AVPs, new shows, okay? Na not necessarily na meron siyang TV show, pero kumikita siya. So, ayan, because of the pandemic and because of our situation right now, from live television show, from day-to-day television shooting, pumunta siya doon sa pag-YouTube wherein safe sila na nakakapag-video tape na kanilang show for YouTube. Okay? At kumikita siya ng malaki. So yun, medyo nag-change ang lifestyle. The body. In modernity, people make their bodies just as they make their self-identity. The body was drawn into the reflexive organization of social life and became increasingly socialized. Okay, for show business, let us make that as an example. A lot of ladies in the show business consider the self-image through their body as an important means for them to be invited through a contract, through a show, okay. So, yun na, yung tinitingnan nilang parang norm. Pero kung titingnan naman natin, there are a lot of people in the show business who are also big, okay? They do not rely on the being slender or being slim so that they'll have their work, okay? Pero itong mga slender na babae na to, nakaka-influence sila sa mga self-perception ng mga teenagers, ng mga young adults, ng mga youth ngayon. Especially if they are being followed, okay? They are being admired and idolized by the lay people who are seeing them in the social media that, I am slender, ito ang dapat, kaya ginagaya sila. So, nagiging socialized na. Kumbaga, the body should be through my decision, okay? My body should not be socialized. My body is me and I am private, okay? Ganun sana. Next is the private versus the public. If you could notice, all the concepts that I am discussing right now are interrelated when it comes to its effects to us in the modern world. Modern social life is more private and at the same time more public. It is more due to urban life, increased mobility, dissolution of place, and the decline of the family. Okay, that's already self-explanatory to all of us. Next is the narcissistic nature of self. Narcissism is a character disorder which involves preoccupation with the self, which prevents individuals from creating suitable boundaries between their self and the external world. Okay, narcissism is one of the personality disorders na nagsasabing, I love myself too much. Yes, we could love ourselves, but not too much to the extent that we only see the I, not the we. Okay, a narcissistic person continuously strives to expose himself so that he could gain admiration. But then if the feedback is towards negativity, not positive admiration like that, the narcissistic person becomes frustrated. That's why he continues to expose himself positively na, well, no genuineness. For him to be praised, for him to have the positive self-image lang, okay, without thinking of the we or the others. Narcissism assumes that a constant search for self-identity is an expression of narcissistic fascination rather than an achievable search. Remember? Yet, yes, it is good for us to understand our real self, establish our self identity, and when we really established our self identity, then we're able to radiate ourselves positively to others. Okay? A narcissistic person kasi is na-stuck siya, kumbaga, doon sa process ng self-identity. At ang gusto niya is positive, the I, the I, the I, not the us, the we. So, in our lesson 2, do not forget that this is the nugget of wisdom. To know what the true self is without social pressure is to know your true nature. So, yes, the comments, the opinions of the people around us, the dictations of the society are very important, but then we should not forget on who we really are at the end of the day without the curtains or without the stages, without the several roles that we portray outside our private room. So at the end of the day, we know who we really are and God knows who we really are. So thank you so much for listening. Goodbye. So stand by for our lesson 3.